One's like, oh, we're on. Yep, okay. So we are now live, just like that. That's how it usually works.
Yeah, yeah. I have a habit of popping in the middle of stream, so so it's like it's like there's a stream going on.
Well, it probably makes it easiest and the best. As I said, that
Yeah,
also the person that's usually streaming is the last one to get get the information on it. So it makes it a pain in the
right.
butt to actually see. Oops, I hit a wrong button there. Hopefully, I didn't mess anything up. You still there? All good. Let's see here. I don't know if
Still good.
you pulled up your YouTube. You should be able to see it. Up there, it is now on mine. I'm gonna go on there, and mute it so I can see if anyone's popped in. Yep. Okay, there we go. We've got Eric Breen, hello, and a Brown comic book reader, second. Mr. Neem said hi, Frugal. So we're up and a go. 8 people are watching right now. So hello, everybody. Hopefully, everyone's doing well. So we were going to talk Captain America, but I guess for a few minutes, I'll let some people come in before we start talking about that wonderful Captain America number 700 that we all like so much, right? Because that's everybody's favorite. We were talking about some video games for comic book video games there, and you said so. Your most recent one you played was the Transformers. I'm currently working editing because what I do is after I beat them and have the video of me beating it, I put the picture in picture and all that. I'm editing Green Lantern and another Doom one that I beat. So I've been playing a lot of Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare with Little Frugal.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta share this link. I forgot. I gotta let people know we're on. Whoopsie. That's a pro right there.
Right.
That's a champ move. There we go. I sent that tweet out so now people can know that we're actually doing this, except for the few that might have seen the tweet earlier.
Right.
There we go. So, how you guys doing in the chat here? Everyone doing all right?
Uh, yeah. Mr. Needon says hello.
Yeah. Good, good, good. Well, welcome everybody. We wanted to talk about. Actually, this was not originally going to be on my channel. So why don't so if anybody doesn't know him, Samurai Raccoon, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit so people here can know who you are?
Samurai Raccoon here. I did the life. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube that's still pretty new to me, so some things on my end went wrong, and which is why we're hosting it on Captain Frugal's channel, which I guess was the logical, which would be a logical move since he has more of a following than I do.
Yeah, so we might get 5 people this time. I'm kidding, actually. I've got a pretty darn good group that usually pop in and see how right now. And just answer the question out loud, too. I was asked if I played the 2016 Doom yet. No, I don't have the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One yet. So I'm not cool and up to date. What about you, Samurai Raccoon? Do you have that? Either of those new gen consoles?
No, I have a PS3 that was generously donated by my nephew when he got himself an Xbox One.
Ah,
I'm still torn between that and the Nintendo Switch.
okay. Yeah, I don't have any of the new ones. The newest Nintendo we have is we have a Wii. I don't think I've played it actually though,
Uh,
but we have it.
yeah.
So,
Needless to say, I did not have a whole lot of fun trying to play with the Wii.
I hear some really good games for it. And I got hopefully to play with the kids, bowling and stuff, and some Mario Kart. I just haven't gotten to that one yet.
Yeah.
We have a pretty big selection all around, so my backlog is huge. I'm in no
Yeah.
rush really to buy a next gen console or anything because I have so many games I have yet to play. Uh,
James apparently says PS4 is the way to go. Forget the Xbone.
well, one of the things I don't like about either one is you have to pay for internet service. They use the network on either one now, and
Yeah, that's what I'm told. You're already forking out 400 $400 for this console, and you want and you want me to pay to play your games online as well?
Yeah,
That's insane.
I just don't. I don't spend that much money on that stuff. I mean, the games and stuff, I buy them when they're cheap. I mean, I just got
Mm-hmm.
done buying. I think I bought 8 games for $15 or something like that. So that's good enough for me. But what wasn't cheap, like the segue, was the recent issue Captain America number 700. Now, Samurai Raccoon actually contacted me and asked me if I'd like to do a live stream chat with him on this. And as he said, he's learning this whole thing, so we're actually hosting this on my channel instead of his. So, Captain America number 700. This thing was $5.99, and I'll give him some credit. It's pretty thick, you know. So, did you think the price was okay?
Um, I think considering it had a second story that was attached to it. I guess you could say I guess it kind of explain. I guess you can kind of say it's justified in that matter. But
So,
I would have
okay.
used a different. But I would have used a different story. I would have done something completely. I would have used a different story
Mhm.
to celebrate that milestone.
Yeah, what it looked to me like is they pulled out, one of those times when they have some in the drawer that aren't used to play catch up when somebody's late. And maybe
Right.
it was from a story they just never used and they had Mark Wade put the words in it, which to me, the artwork, it was great artwork by Jack Kirby and Frank. I can never say names, whoever that guy is. And then it's tarnished by Mark Wade. Because let's be honest, Jack Kirby and Mark Wade would not have gotten along. Clearly not.
Huh. So Kirby was more on the conservative side, and while Wade is more liberal minded.
Yeah, that's a pretty safe way to say it. Big difference there in ideology. That's for sure. A very big difference. A matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Kirby was more of a Rand kind of person. so, uh, so he believed more in the Rand kind of theory. So more of a libertarian.
Uh,
Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah.
I kind of missed out on the Kirby era.
Oh, okay. Now this is where it's interesting. You are before we start talking more about this. I'm more old school. I've been around for a while, so I have a very large Captain America collection, probably around 85% of the issues I have. And you're somewhat more recent to Captain America. Is that correct?
Yes. I've tried getting into him in the past, but but there's several roadblocks that have kept me from becoming more of a full time fan. In the '90s, that whole the Rob Liefeld era didn't help me get into it in the '90s, when he apparently thought that muscles were made out of balloons or something, given his iconic cover.
Ah, okay. Oh, and also Eric Breen in the comment sections, he's right. I flipped it. Kirby's was more of a classic liberal. Ditko was the Rand disciple. Thank you. I flipped him there.
Yes.
And a
Uh,
classic liberal is actually more like a conservative today. so
right.
so I brain flipped that.
Yes.
Good
Thank you
catch,
for
man.
clearing that up, Eric. Since since I guess so, because terms like liberal get thrown around so loosely, the meaning gets lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big proponent, and I've said this, and I'm going to continue to say, I don't like seeing politics in comics, with exception under a really good writer that displays things more evenly, gives you different sides, and lets you come up with an opinion yourself. That's some of the issue I have maybe with the direction some of the Vox Day, books are going to go. But he
Yeah.
claims it's just the one major book is going to be that way, the rest aren't. So to be determined, and we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I have anything against any side books once in a while. It's just when we're bombarded with them consistently, or even more so when the ideology is put in more over the plot. And And that's some of the issues I think I had with this overall storyline. So you said you're newer then, and by the way, the '90s, the time like you were saying, that was that was not a good time. She wanted to look into some Marvel heroes.
Right.
That was a pretty bad time.
Right.
Oh,
And then everything that happened after House of M didn't help either because you've seen a lot of since you've seen there was you see the Avengers getting more involved in the mutant affairs because of things that were happening there.
mhm.
And it's like, don't you guys have some scrolls to fight? Can't you let the let the X-Men deal with mutant problems? That's what they're there for.
And that was a book done right. It truly was. Those for the X-Men with politics, they did it right. They were handled with better writing, than what we get today, and that would make a big difference. To typing up something over here while I'm thinking, and that's part of the problem we're seeing. I think we just don't have writers that are equipped to do as good with that as what we used to have, so they can't pull off those kinds of things without coming off very ham-fisted. Now, with that said, we've had ham-fisted books, of course, in the past. For example, Jerry Conway has done some absolutely excellent, amazing Spider-Man titles, and he's wrote a lot of iconic stories. But even he, at that time, had some that were really ham-fisted with politics too. So it's not just today. It's been, but it's worse today. I think that's my opinion when I'm saying it's worse today.
I see
What do
what you're
you?
saying.
Yeah, because I've been reading these for a long time, so I have a little background, and I learned to read on comic books. So, and how about you? What was your introduction to comic books?
Funny thing happened. One day my cousins were in town, and apparently I guess they found out about this card shop that was near their house that I did, and we all went to this shop. And and we all saw that they had those Marvel trading cards. Now I
Which
think
ones?
DC had their set of trading cards at their time, but I didn't. But we weren't really paying attention to any of those at the time,
Now,
and
do you remember if that was volume, the season 1, 2, or 3? Because they
I
did
think
several
that was the
different.
second season.
Okay, I have a complete set of all of those.
Uh,
I don't know why I do, but I do. So you've seen those, and that got you interested. Then is that what happened?
well, I was looking at the I looked at the backstory of these cards, and I saw the X-Men and what they were all about, and and my dad and I talk about certain political as- aspects, especially when it comes to black related issues, and when I saw the X-Men, I thought to myself, this seems like a pretty interesting book. This seemed like this would be an interesting book since they deal with things like racism and race relations.
Oh yeah, they did it really well. That book really did a great job. Whereas, as I said, good writing. It boils down to that. If you can people write well, it shows in the story. They can be more, you know, intricate and get into those kinds of things where rather than just attacking somebody and beating them over the head with it, which seems to be the common thing today. At least in my opinion. And maybe I'm wrong, and some people do disagree with me there, and that's perfectly fine. And I don't mind
Right.
either. I as long as they tell it to me in a nice way. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you don't have to be super gentle and nice about it, but when you come on in the comments and you just call me all kinds of things right off the bat, then that's a crappy way of doing it.
Yeah,
So
that's the worst. Yeah, that's the worst debate tactics you can possibly do.
yeah, and I get a lot of those, the hate stalkers. And when they hit little Frugal right off the bat, I'm done with them. Them I don't tend to bother with. Otherwise, I might let them argue for a little bit unless they go on profane rants. I will say, from my view here, I don't think Captain America, but this could be confirmation bias, just for the record. I don't think Captain America 700 went over very well. so,
It sure didn't seem like that to me.
yeah,
Um, just about just about all but one reviewer seemed to like it.
Okay. So this is number 700, and the first thing I got off it right off the bat was the cover. You know, when you get an issue that's supposed to be a milestone for the character, shouldn't the character be the focal point on the cover?
Yeah, that was one of the things I was looking at the cover here. Is like, if you're gonna have Captain America standing on top of the statue, blow up the statue area so we can see Captain America. The thing, I don't even remember the thing even being in this issue. So it's like, why is he even in the cover?
He was, but he was on a little tablet screen. That's all. A soldier was holding it, and he was talking to Cap. That's all he was in
Okay,
it. We
yeah,
never
he's
actually saw the Hulk. We saw Bruce Banner. Um,
yeah, that's yeah,
what?
because something happened. Yes, something happened I forget what happened in the last issue, but what the thing that happened to him, I guess you could say finally cured him of being the Hulk.
Right. Yeah. So he no longer has the juice, if you will.
Yeah,
What was the female protagonist name that's on the cover? I keep forgetting her name. I forgot I was doing my video
Liang,
too.
I think.
Okay. But it looks like on the cover that she's the main character because she's front and center. You know, and I'm sorry. I mean, if this book was about her, I'd be fine with her front and center. But
Yeah,
shouldn't that
but
have been Cap's spot?
Captain America should be on the forefront. I mean, as it is, I hate covers where the characters are just standing around doing nothing as is. But when you have a cover and the guy that's supposed to be the star of the comic book is way in the back,
Yeah.
that's
I,
you seriously screwed up here.
Yeah, it really doesn't make any sense because, look at a lot of iconic covers. A great comparison would be Action Comics number 1,000. Now, I don't have it, but I've got the picture of it. I got it coming. It's on my pull list. I got to pick it up this weekend with Little Frugal. I'm
Right.
probably going to do a video recording when we go there. And and that's right. The characters in the cover, on the cover, right in the front, it looks iconic. That's how it should be, at least to me. And when I see this, it looks like, okay, he's not the main character in his own book. Now, granted, he is. Just to be fair, when you go through, he is spotlighted more than the other characters. So I'll give him
Yeah,
that.
Power Girls apparently is kind of new to the Captain America mythos as well. I'm in the same boat with you, lady.
A lot of people don't like my answer when they go, well, where to start? I say start at the beginning. Find the earliest part you can get, maybe get an essential or something like that. And people, well, that's not current. What I say, what's wrong with going with the beginning and knowing the character?
Yeah.
And then growing and seeing how the character changed and progressed. And then when you see that, usually that's where you start seeing arguments between newer readers and older readers. You get that disconnect. They're like, well, there's nothing wrong with this. And the older readers like, this is not the same character. A matter of fact, Comic Moon, which I invited, just send it to him, so he doesn't really know about this, so he probably won't be able to join us. But if he does, that's fine. He put in my comments section. This is where I said when people disagree somewhat or have different takes, I'm fine with that. He does a great job of explaining his view on this comic book. And so this is Comic Moon. By the way, if you don't follow his channel, check him out sometime. He's another YouTuber, does good stuff. And he put in the comments section here just yesterday in my video on this, he said, my dislike of this issue has nothing to do with any perceived political agenda of Mr. Wade. It is simply a badly written issue with disappointing art. Captain America failed to save the future. He failed to prevent the nuclear destruction of New York City. His ideals did not prevail in the future. He utterly failed. In the ultimate show of cowardice, decides to abandon his allies and travel to the past to prevent the Ramparts terrorists from starting the war in the first place. Now, in fairness, Captain America did sacrifice his life in the end to stop the missile and preserve the present. But the message is still clear, namely that Captain America's ideals were not strong enough to save the future. Accordingly, the message is that Captain America ideals are not timeless, and worse, they do not inspire citizens in at least one dystopian future to defeat the forces of fascism. Accordingly, this does not feel like a Captain America comic book. It does not feel like a SJW comic book to me either. Now, I do disagree with him on that part. Right. I never got the sense that Wade was preaching politics down my throat. Obviously, a dystopian future of America is going to have some political reference to the
Right.
Constitution, which he's right about that. I give him that. It's simply a poorly conceived story. I think Wade was hoping that readers would focus on the rather clever time travel circumstance of future Cap sacrificing his life to save the present day world
Right.
and indirectly saving the present self.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read
But
any more of that, but I mean, he really did a great comment and sharing his views. I love when people do stuff like that. Now, as I said, I disagree. I think this was a propaganda tool, clearly, first over a story. What are your thoughts before we get too deep? Do you think this was a propaganda littered book, or do you think maybe I'm overseeing it a little bit?
I didn't see it as a propaganda written book. I mean, it could have been handled better, but it wasn't. But I didn't really see But I didn't see the usual SAW warning bells.
Okay. You know, I'm going to throw another invite just in case he wants to pop in since Conklin isn't here. Hey, Edwin,
Oh,
since you're here
anyone's
listening,
too.
if you want to pop in, I'm going to send you a link. So you can if
Yeah,
you want. I'm not trying to
I
push
would
you into
love to hear his
anything,
take on it.
but I figured, this seems like a subject you'd be interested in too. No harm, no foul if you don't want to come in. All right. So anyway, I can understand. I think Wade was trying to sneak it past people though, because Wade is at the point now where you look at his books, it seems like it's impossible for him not to put in his political viewpoints. I really do. So that's why I don't think anything in here was being misread on my point. As a matter of fact, there's a couple things I didn't even mention in my video. Oh, he's still at work. So, okay.
Oh.
So let's dig in here in the book. And right off the bat, I got hit on, on the first page. The art, I don't, well, actually, before we get too much into it too, what do you think about the art? Do you like this art style?
The arts, I guess it's an acquired taste. I mean, it's not. I've seen far worse. It has a bit of a Darwin Cook feel to it.
Okay. I don't hate it, but I don't like it either. It's just, yeah, it's okay. I think I'd rather see a lot of other people on the book. I'll say that, but I
Right.
don't absolutely hate it. Though there was parts that made me see if I can find that page of what I'm talking about in a minute. That did make me scratch my head a little bit. So on the very first page, you see them talking here, and this is mentioned. I think it was by Bruce, if I recall. Yeah, you can't just slapdash a 250-year-old
Yeah.
constitution written by a bunch of wealthy white landowners onto a post-Rampart, post-Babington hellscape. Someone had to step up and take the reins. The reign, he said. Which, once again, I think this is a really broad stroke, crappy way to say how the Constitution was brought in.
Yeah, he could have. I mean, he probably could have worded it. He probably could have worded it differently.
Mhm. I mean, you think about wealthy white landowners. Why did that have to be mentioned? That had to have a political agenda because Mark Wade is all about, he's got to protect the weak. And I think he has something against wealthy people, particularly white wealthy people, which I don't see how he can't be somewhat wealthy at this point himself. So it seems a little disingenuous.
Yeah, maybe this could be my memory of history class failing me for a little bit. And maybe maybe the people who came to forge the Constitution maybe there was a variety of different social statuses involved there.
Well, one thing, even though there was more than their wealth on the line, this was their life on the line, their livelihood, everything, even their family name. This could wipe you out of existence. Right. They could take you all out. So this, there's a lot more to it than that. And he painted them all this bunch that pretty much were just a bunch of crooks in his way, was what I got from it, that put this thing together to make money. And I'm sorry, that's not how it came to be. And this isn't a Captain America book. This should be Captain America readers tend to be more patriotic, at least from the ones I've talked to. And it's just like G.I. Joe. You don't put crap like that in a G.I. Joe book and not expect to get any flack. This is freaking Captain America. He stands up for America. And that's one of the big complaints I've had. In the last run under Wade and under Spencer, So for a good chunk of years now, we haven't had a Captain America anymore that just stands up for the USA. And when I say the USA, I mean everybody in the United States. He believes in equality and things. Instead, it seems like it's all against the rich man, which, newsflash,
Right.
there's rich people in the United States. They worked hard to get that way. That's a
Yeah.
misconception when people think it's all
Yeah.
handed down and gotten that way. Most millionaires and wealthy people in the United States are self-made. Matter of fact, as many people are bashing on the millennial generation, they have more self-made wealthy people than any generation so far.
Right.
It's just crazy to me why he'd go on that route. That's life and limb risk there. So then we get into the fighting here on the next page, and Captain America's fighting, and of course the Rampart. And you think about Rampart and the song it came from, that's iconic to the United States. So you've got them as a bad
The
group,
Ramparts we watch.
right? And they're all wearing red, which is a notorious known to be a color for conservative, for Republicans.
Yeah,
So
I guess that kind of part kind of failed me because uh, I think when I was looking at that, the better dead than the better dead than red catchphrase kept coming to mind when we had commies to deal with.
mhm. Right. And now another thing that I didn't mention on my video too, and if you turn even to that next page after Captain America's pounding on him, you get a bigger picture with some of the Rampart guy right on the top panel. And if you notice, I think it's supposed to be a sword though, but it also looks like a cross. And it seems like Marvel's had some issue for the last few years with putting upside down crosses and things like that on villains. I just don't get it.
I don't get that. I don't get that either, unless it's supposed to be Yeah, yeah. Unless you're trying to. Yeah, that doesn't really make much sense to me either. I mean, there was that. I mean, there was that instance where a guy got a, a guy was executed that way, but that doesn't seem to be what they're trying to go with here.
Right. Now that one, as I said, that one maybe I'm just off the mark a little bit. It's supposed to be a sword, but I don't know. I tend to the way Wade has been and the kind of things if you see what kind of things he's put on social media tends to make me go, I think there is more to this than just first
Yeah.
glance meets the eye. Now on that same page, by the way, if anyone has their comic there and you're looking at it, it's got a big half the top. It's a splash page, but with additional panels, and you see Cap fighting on the top panel, and it's got it says cut the distance, drive the enemy to the east, they'll be pinned, go, and you see Bakum and you see, bomb go off. Well, if you look at the very top panel on that, one of the guys in the fighting there, he doesn't have legs. He's in the background though, but when he's fighting, it's like he's got no legs. He's standing and fighting without legs. So maybe it was supposed to be smoke, but the coloring didn't do it.
Right.
Oh, somebody just asked, Unsparing Robin 95 said, how do you feel about Captain America joining Antifa and Ta-Nehisi Coates' run? I don't think you have to ask me to know my thoughts on that one. Yeah, we don't know enough really about it just from that little bit to know that he's joining Antifa, but it does not give me a good feeling. I do not.
Seems like Cap would be fighting Antifa, not joining them.
Well, that's part of the problem when we have these ideologues that are writing the character so far out of character. He's not what he should be anymore. Henceforth, why I said pick up Cap right from the beginning. Get an essential, read it, and see what he's really about. And then if you really don't realize that, look into the creators and look what they're about. They're not about what we see today from these Marvel writers. Clearly not. So another section in the book that I found troubling was when there was the page in his front, you see the map of the United States, and he says, every nation on earth wants to fill America's power vacuum in the wake of Babington's fall. Entire armies are coming at us because I will not honor his back channel deals with tyrants. You gotta love how they make tyrants bold. Not while our own infrastructure is in shambles. The agriculture belt is failing, but I can't send soldiers into battle on empty stomachs. This once again seems like, okay, let's take another shot at Trump. That's what I got from it anyway.
Hang on, I'm trying to find it.
I wish I had a page number. It doesn't really say a page number in this book.
Yeah, comic don't do page numbers anymore.
Yeah. Let's see.
Oh, I think I found it. entire armies are coming at us because I will not honor his bat channel deals with tyrants. Well, that allegory is about as goes back even further than George W. Bush with the whole "we do not negotiate with terrorists" kind of deal.
Right. And how is it? I know some people go, well, Captain America be a political book, so it's going to always have that. It had it with the Axis powers and everything else. Sure, but it wasn't as much infighting. Now, granted, we had some of that during the Nixon time. They put that in Captain America book too,
Right.
and some other things like that. So it hasn't been without that, notwithstanding. So we are aware of that. But once again, this whole book just constantly seems like it's a political agenda cheap shot. Matter of fact, on that same section that you're open on, the page right before it on the left, has Captain America at the bottom, says prisoner of war, treat him with dignity until we can ship him back home to deliver a message. We're stronger now than ever. Really, you need to tell them to, when they have him captured, to treat him with dignity?
Yeah, don't we? Yeah, isn't that you? Yeah, I mean, I know I know it's a dystopian future, and Cap wants to get the country back on its feet. But why would why would Captain America need to say we're not gonna send this guy we're not gonna send this guy back in itty bitty pieces.
Yeah, I mean, and if that was what they were doing, there was no groundwork laid in the previous issues that they were, manhandling captured people, you know.
Right.
So there was no foundation for
Yeah.
that. Hence, where
There are also several time gaps in the there are also several time gaps in this issue alone. So it's hard to tell whether whether or not these soldiers are getting are were have gotten disgruntled with time, and
yeah,
you
you're
don't
right,
really know
because
whether
they
hunger
jump
and
all those
fatigue are a
days.
factor and they're not thinking straight or what.
Right. Okay, and that's true. Now, if so, they should have laid some kind of foundation. Now, granted, there's the catch 22, right? For that to happen, this would probably have needed to be several more issues. And I don't know about you,
Yeah.
I'm glad it didn't last longer. This was enough. So, I don't want more. So that's what they have to explain. Now, also at the beginning too, with that whole gun deal, they almost made it sound like a coup was going to happen, and it didn't turn out. It was a time machine.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
exactly what I was thinking when I first picked up this season. It's like, are they gonna kill Captain America and take over?
Yeah, so I think that was an intent to mislead us a little bit on that, and it didn't end up being there. But therefore, it was a time machine. Oh, by the way, think about this too. And I don't think anybody else mentioned this. The bad guy in this, the antagonist, his name is, they call him Babington. Now, I tend to wonder if they took that from the Tower of Babel. I'm very curious. That might be stretching it a little bit, but Babington is not a common name.
Right.
So I wonder if once again that's another conservative, or in this case, Christ
Right.
believer jab that way. Because from what I've seen, I do not think Wade has any belief in a higher power. So,
Wouldn't
which
surprise me
would
if he didn't.
right, which would make sense. And the antagonist name is Babington, and then the Rampart group has what looks like either upside down swords or crosses on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
But then again, but then again, but then again, I've been blocked by pretty much every writer that has some sort of connection to Marvel. So I miss out on those sweet little tweets.
I'm blocked by most of them, so that's okay. Mariana said Babington sounds like a pretentious rich person's name, which is probably why they used it, and that could be too. As I said, maybe I'm looking a little farther on that one than what it should be,
Yeah.
because that would make a lot of sense as well. So anyway, Cap says no, he's not going to go back in time. He makes this moral
Yeah.
stance on that, and
Yeah. He's basically we're gonna stay the course.
and this is where I think Comic Boom really opened my eyes on that part too. We go through a long period of days where they're building up the infrastructure and everything. I can almost picture an '80s montage, music being played behind that.
Right.
As they're building everything else up.
Yeah, they're growing food. Yeah, they're growing food, building up shelters,
Yeah,
digging wells.
James.
Because Cap was like, I've led entire I've led entire armies. I never had to. I'm not a farmer. I never dug. I never dug. I'm not a farmer. I'm not a construction worker.
Mhm.
I'm a soldier.
Yeah. James Garpie said, I think Babington was used strictly so that he could call the character King Baby, which could be, once again, would be another shot at Trump because of his hands, if I'm not mistaken. It was his dire hate of Trump, and people are calling him baby hands. Could have been. So, as I said, maybe I'm overreaching it on this, but this just seems to jump out at me. So, like you said, Cap goes on that, how he's a soldier, and all that. And then he gets the information, that on day 349, New Day America, that's the last of them. They won another battle. Says, yes, sir, anybody anywhere in Europe wanted a piece of Philadelphia. They ain't anything to worry about no more. We won. Good work. Let's keep
And
moving. Victory is at hand. And
and
then the
then
bad news comes.
boom.
Yeah, Captain America, we have Health and Human Services on the line. They say it's urgent, and Cap's putting them off. He says, not now, forsake, what's the problem? And then boom, like you said. And if you watch my video, you know that Wade made a comment about blowing stuff up. So this just really fits that well. So I will say, I like the picture of Cap down below that. I think it shows good expression.
Yeah. When I saw that, I suppose I was like, at first I kind of got the impression it's like Cap was could you see him? Could you see him? Like every time the soldier got somebody on the horn, there's like there's this problem there's this problem in this sector. And he's like, not now. I'm not now. I have this thing to deal with. And then you see this explosion. It's like it's like is this Captain America's negligence
Yeah.
finally keep catching up with him?
Yeah, so there goes New York, and since New York was blown up, Cap completely loses all of his steam. That's war. You're going to lose some ground. That's expected, but nope.
Yeah.
That means Cap was wrong. He wants to go back. And then Bruce Banner says it, and I think this is probably the most true thing in this comic book. He said, "That's the least Captain America thing I've ever heard." And I thought, "Wow, that's this book." That's this book in a nutshell. Hey, senior dead guy, hello. John Arnett said Babington could also be a reference to Anthony Babington. He plotted to assassinate Queen Elizabeth. I am conspiring with Mary Queen of Scots. So treason, which, yeah, maybe. So anyway, another part after that is then you see Cap decides he's going to go back to the past, and he has that moment with that female character that's sort of like almost looks like romantic moment, but yeah, has I don't know.
Okay, I see. Okay, there's this silhouette here where he has a smile on his face. Because when I was first reading, I thought it was her coming on. I thought it was her coming on to him. There was so far there was no indication that he had mutual feelings for her.
Right. And if you look, there was some emotional feeling there because she says goodbye, Steve, and he's like, Steve, because remember she never called him Steve until now. It was Bomb Pop and everything else. But where in the last few issues have we seen any romantic or caring interest between these two?
None.
Exactly.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah. So this moment has no power. There's no
yeah. I mean, the first issue of the story, it was just unthought. It was just unthawing him, and she was briefing him on what he missed out for the past decade or whatever because he was frozen. He was on ice again, and then in the second issue was ended with him finally taking down the Empire, as if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And here at this point, they've been trying to rebuild what they lost, even though they were winning battles. They didn't ever achieve what they set out to do because I think there was a point in a comic where Cap was stretching out his where Cap had an Alexander the Great moment where he where he stretched his forces too thin to the point where they were ineffective.
Right. And so once again, showing Captain America can't win. So, and then we have this moment there, which I don't know about you, it didn't have any power for me. If they would have maybe built it up over a couple issues, showing him
Yeah,
getting closer and things that might have had an
yeah,
emotional moment. But me, it's like,
yeah,
okay, he knew this chick, and big deal.
yeah. This goes. I mean, and this goes back to my gaps in several time jumps argument from earlier.
Mhm.
Right, maybe something did happen within the past couple of hundred of days, and we're just not. And for whatever reason, Wade didn't bother to show that.
Right. And Mariana mentions, from what I'm getting, this synopsis is that at least one issue missing between 699 and 700 in terms of story plot points and sudden romantic interest point. And I agree. But once again, double edged sword. I'm glad there's not, because let's not stretch this turd out any farther. So
Yeah, yeah, but at the same time, show don't tell, dude.
true. Yeah, they could have showed it in other ways. Absolutely. So then Cap is teleported back into the past, and he says, and he goes, ideally about a week. You did say you were
Crap.
guessing, Bruce.
And he's like, crap.
Right. I just
I
wish you'd been smarter. I mean, what a dick thing to say. I mean,
yeah,
he's using tech that was hobbled that he didn't create, originally in the first place. He took these parts of it from a dystopian, blown apart place and had it nailed within a week. Give the guy a break.
yeah. But then again, this is the Captain America that that was that was that has was berating the X-Men every 5 seconds after the whole House of M debacle, and where the mutants were trying to get their situation in order because fewer mutants now.
Right. Yeah. Very, very good point. Now, I will say I really like when Cap jumps, to get to the ship and they show him pulling up the ice chunk of him with it in it. But
Right.
then you see Cap standing there above the rampart guy. I like that particular scene. It looks
Yeah.
like, oh, it's on. Cap's going to beat this guy down. So I like that. But then we turn the next page and it's more of pissing me off.
Oh, where he's all like a new society dedicated to the God-given power of individualism,
Yeah.
where the strong stand independent of the weak.
Yes. I mean, first of all, take to the shelters. We're about to begin a new era of American excellence. We know exactly who he's taking a shot at there. There's no way he's not.
Yeah, yeah. When I was looking at that, I was like, wait a minute, aren't you guys the bad guys? Wait a minute, you're the bad guys. Aren't you supposed to have issue? When do you have an issue with individualism? Individualism is supposed to be Cap's whole thing, right?
Exactly. Everyone should have equal opportunity. Instead, a new society dedicated to the God given power of individualism, where the strong stand independent of the weak. Okay,
Yeah,
individualism is what makes America great. We all have the ability to do what we want, we have equal opportunity.
yeah,
That's
yeah. I mean,
wonderful. What's wrong with that statement?
right. I mean, it would make. I mean, it would. I guess it would make more sense if he kind of if he kind of said it in a way where you could clearly see that the two adversaries had different ideas about how individualism works, and Cap's like, and Cap would be like, no, that's not your idea. What you're trying to do is not individualism.
Right.
Your way is
And
not going to achieve those goals.
right. And an interesting thing is you actually look back more in American history, it shows how much Wade does not know or really has not done his research because, first of all, he says, once again, the strong stand independent of the weak. Okay, well, here's what happened. In America, the way it was set up is people give to the churches. Most people at that time belonged to churches. They had faith, and you give to your church to help the poor and things like that. They weren't all not help the poor and things. That's a mistake right there. Those the foundations. That's one of the reasons why like libertarians don't agree necessarily in giving that much to the government. It's a fundamental difference of belief in giving. That doesn't mean they're greedy and don't believe in giving. They just believe in giving themselves. They believe they can do it better than what the government can disseminate it at.
And judging from what we've seen, they were right about that.
Yeah, the government's failed
It's one thing to
consistently.
give. It's an entirely different thing to screw yourself over in the name of generosity.
Right. The United States was never a pure capitalistic or socialistic society. We're actually a hybrid system, and where people do believe in helping the common man, and that's the way it was. We do that through our churches. As the government took a bigger piece of that, look what has gone. What's happened? The government's grown and it's not efficient. Let's just be honest. I mean, I don't know about you, and I don't want to turn this into a big political diatribe, but when you have a government that has trillions and trillions of dollars of debt, I don't exactly think they're the best people to hold your finances.
Yeah, that would be like giving. Yeah, that would be like turning all. That would be like turning all your. That would be like turning your aging mom's expenses to a member of the family that has the worst that has the worst money management skills you've ever seen.
Right. No, I'm not saying I'm anti all taxes or anything either. Once again, I don't want anybody to get me wrong because we need it for our infrastructure and things too. But there is a
Yeah,
point of how much there, and I do believe in giving. I strongly believe in giving, and I think everybody should. If somebody needs help and you can help them, why not? It's
yeah,
the nice thing to do. I
yeah.
believe in
I
that
mean,
very strongly.
I don't have issues with giving either. In fact, I give quite a bit. But what I have a problem with is when somebody comes along and tries to dictate how I should give.
Exactly, and that's a fundamental issue. Or when they claim that anybody that's successful is, off the backs of the little man and things like that. That's not how it works. And once again, it's Wade painting in very broad brushes, and it's I don't know. To me, it's insulting. I don't give F's for a grade for a book very often. If you look, most of the books I've reviewed, I tend to C and above. With very few exceptions, like an
Yeah,
Iceman book, I blew up, and and as well as a crap. What was it?
right.
I can't even think of her name. Her book got canceled. American Chavez. I shot one of
Oh,
those up or something.
crap, Gabby.
Yeah, because those books were horrid. But otherwise, I don't give books bad marks. I usually save the F for a book that I find absolutely offensive. And this book I found
Yeah,
offensive not only because it attacks half the potential readership, it's ignorant of the past, and it treats Cap out of character completely. So,
yeah,
and Comic Boom even made it worse for me because I didn't think about being the losing end of it too. So it's like, dang it, maybe hate
yeah,
it more.
yeah. I think what hurts this book. I think what hurts this book the most is that a lot of the dialogue that's spoken is so vague that if you're if you don't agree with a if you're familiar with politics as or if you're familiar with someone like Mark Wade, you're gonna look at this and say, "Oh, you're taking a jab at the principles that I hold most dear."
I would really like to talk to somebody, a
I would
couple
like,
people that have no idea of Wade's social media interactions and his views, and see if they've seen the things, or if they see this. Oh, there's nothing in here like that. I'm just reading too much into it. Mariana said I could see Frugal fuming like his avatar, but with smoke coming out of his
yeah,
ears after reading it. Just so you know, I did not put my
yeah,
video together directly after reading this issue.
yeah,
I did take some time to
yeah,
collect my thoughts and calm down.
yeah. I'd like to, uh, I'd like to get Wade on a horn and ask him what he's thinking, but unfortunately, but I don't have the same pull that even Ethan has.
Yeah, yeah, he's an interesting. Wade is an interesting cat. So So Cap takes out some more Rampart guys, and then he gets to Babington, and he pretty much says, "You ought to thank me. Whatever fallout-free radiation your men think they've
Yeah,
cooked up, it doesn't, does more than you think." And he pretty much tells him he's gonna be made look even uglier, because he's such a terrible person.
yeah. It's like okay. If this is your way of trying not to spoil the future, of trying to not give spoilers for the future because you're afraid that if you reveal too much, an even bigger catastrophe might happen. You might want to be a little more clever about it there.
Yeah. And so a little bit of fight ensues, and so Cap gets knocked down because he gets hit in the leg, and the
Yeah,
Badminton says, "Men, back to the plan. Put this fool on ice to preserve him. I planned for him to be an image of and in quotes, greatness, unquote, to the new American sheep. Now think about it. Greatness, make America great again, and under it, sheep. Both of those words are, of course, in bold. Because Mark Wade thinks anybody that voted for Trump are
Yeah.
a bunch of sheep. And once again, I don't care who you voted for. That's not my point here. I wouldn't have liked this if it was either way, just for the record. It's
Yeah.
too much on the nose, too much. Let's focus on this rather than a good story
Yeah.
to me.
He really the villain, the bad guy really contradicts himself a lot here. First of all, if you're gonna call yourself making, if you're first of all, if you're gonna call yourself making a society greater than what you have, you don't call the people you're trying to win over a sheep.
True, that's usually not the best sell point. Hey, sheep. Now he'll be a symbol of defeat. And you know what? He's right. He is. Captain America is a symbol of defeat in this whole book. Darn it, Comic Boom really, it took me from like level 10 of being pissed about this book to level 11. You know, it'd been different. It was like issue 645 and he had to overcome something in the next issue. But this is freaking issue 700. It's supposed to be a milestone issue, and you made Captain America a freaking chump. Couple times, because now here finally Cap's going to do something cool. He's going to jump on this missile, right?
Yeah.
And this is very Cap-like. It gives symbolism a little bit, you know, to the past when with him and Bucky and what happened and him got frozen. So I'm gonna give him a little credit there because that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so pretty much Cap gets, you know, eviscerated.
Right. I mean, this scene here kind of reminds me of that one scene in the movie where the Tommy Lee Jones is like the general or whatever his rank was, a high ranking official, and he's talking with the scientist like, you don't win wars by being nice. You win it with guts. And he pulls a pin off this grenade and tosses it out, and everybody everybody scatters, but Steve, even though he is, and you have this skinny little Private Rogers jumping over, jumping, covering the grenades so it doesn't blow anybody else up.
Yeah. So anyway, you know, Cap gets eviscerated, which is very heroic, and I'm giving credit for that. And you see a couple scenes of it, you know, how bad it's getting, and then boom, the whole thing, you know, ship explodes, and then you see the chunk of ice break up, and there's Cap from, you know, the Cap of that time period.
Yeah.
So, in other words, Cap's okay. So, in other words, this whole issue you just read meant nothing.
Right.
None of that happened, or actually the last few issues, because of this. Now I understand that's you know, okay, it's a story, blah blah blah, but there's no progression. So what was the point of this whole story other than to make political pop shots? There was no character growth, no movement forward. I just don't get it.
He actually had to go back, and he actually had to reset the game in order to win.
Yeah. So he lost all the way through. If you think about it, he didn't win the fight when he was there. He had to go back in the past because he lost, and the bomb still went off. So you know that in a way. So he didn't really stop that either. And then you know you see him. He writes that letter or whatever, and of course it goes to Lilang or whatever. Which probably will never see this character again.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could look at it as a failure because you don't really know, because at this point we don't really know whether or not that crappy future is still set.
Well, it shouldn't be because he stopped it in the present. So, but I mean, ultimately, that was your story. You get mediocre art. You get a story that really didn't matter because it never happened. You get a really no depth and growth on a character on a milestone issue. Shouldn't the milestone have had some great moment of glory for the character? Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah. I don't know. I shake my head at this issue completely. It's like I just spent, you know, $5.99 so far. Story to piss me off.
Yeah, and then it ends with young Liang just looking at him or at least I'm thinking, or at least it looks like he's looking at him.
Yeah,
she's looking at him, and I'm like, I'm like, sorry, babe, nothing's probably gonna come of that relationship.
No, because I mean he was writing somebody else in the first place, so she was a throwaway
Yeah,
character that meant nothing that he tried to make out in some. It would have been different maybe if they created a relationship that you cared about this character and them being together, and then it ends
yeah,
that he's writing a letter to Sharon Carter and she's mail delivery for it.
yeah,
I mean, but we don't even have that.
yeah.
Oh, geez, oh Pete's.
Right.
And then after that, of course, we have that other story, which looks like it's probably a filler story that usually they have extras in case somebody was late on deadlines.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love Jack Kirby stuff. So, by the way,
Right.
I strongly suggest that. I mean, you could see the power of the art that Kirby did. Some people go, well, it's more
Right.
simplistic. But I mean, you
Yeah.
look at that. I mean, Captain America on the second page of that story is hitting like two things at once and
Yeah.
blowing them apart. He's just destructing things. He
Yeah.
was powerful.
Yeah. I mean, the money they spent you doing these little plot doing these little mini stories could have been better spent to having scenes where you develop the story you were at the main story better.
Yeah. So ultimately, I don't know. To me, Captain America 700 was just actually it burned whole Wade's run. I mean, it had Wade's run on this run had a couple decent issues. Even then, it seemed like there was a little jab once in a while,
Yeah.
and then this one just flushed it. And to see Mark Wade after all that crap putting words to Jack Kirby art just seems like a smack in the face.
Yeah. Now, before coming on this stream, I will say this much.
Mhm.
Um, where yeah, in the beginning of the comment where there's a soldier in the background saying Shapiro's entire squad is down, Cap. What do we do? And I'm like, really, Wade? You're gonna? I'm like, really? You're gonna kick this guy? You're gonna kick this guy in the nuts in your own book?
It does make you scratch your head. Ah, it's I just don't know.
Yeah,
And even the words to this secondary story, the Gauntlet, there has this guy. Hey, stars and stripes. Here's a tip. I don't want to be gunned at. Maybe don't carry a giant bullseye. So he shoots at him and then he finds out that the gun is rigged and he can't stop shooting because remember, all guns are bad,
yeah,
right? So, you know, eh,
yeah. You think a guy who's dressed like a you think a guy dressed up as he is would actually know how to shoot?
Yeah, you would think. You're a human bomb. Drop the weapon. Which don't get me wrong, that is something like Skull would do, or is something to screw somebody over. So I can give him that. But once again, it's some ham-fisted writing thrown in there.
Right.
So, oof.
I
But
mean,
the art's
as
really
it
good. Man.
Yeah, I mean, as is, I mean, before the stream, I had already given the comic already gave the comic a C.
Okay.
I think with B, we're down to a D.
Well, don't let me necessarily persuade you. So let's mention it. Let's close out a few things. Let's some pros and cons. Since you gave it a higher score and I gave it an F, so it's gonna be a little harder for me to come up with cons, or some pros. I mean, what were some pros about this book? What was good?
Well, the pros, I mean, as a story, it's not great, but this would it's kind of enjoyable, but it's one of those stories that would be more enjoyable if it was more of a Superman Red Sun kind of deal where it doesn't really affect the main continuity.
Okay, so if it was out of canon, it'd be better.
Right.
Okay. Any other pros?
Um, the art's fair. The art's pretty fair.
Okay. I'll give it a couple pros too. As I said, I'm not a big fan of the art itself, but there was a couple panels that I did like the expression on Cap's face after the bomb when Captain America went back to the past and was on the ship about
Right.
to bust the Cap whoop butt on the Rampart guys. That
Yeah.
was pretty cool. And the Kirby art, I like Kirby art. It
Right.
looked powerful and stuff, so that helped. All right.
Yeah. The cons, however,
Yeah.
for the book takes way too many the book takes way too many opportunities to take to kick right wingers in the nuts. There's a
Hmm.
lot of areas where there's a lot of areas that are that were contradictory in my book, particularly where the end where the bad guy clearly doesn't understand how individualism works.
Hmm.
There are way too many plot holes.
Yeah, exactly. There's too many expectant, fill in the blanks that like they had this relationship together that really wasn't there. Yeah. Well, okay, so I'll
This
give
whole
another pro though. Another pro is in reverse of the con. I'm glad it was as short as it was.
yes,
We
and
didn't need another year
yeah,
long Nazi cap story
yeah,
for crying out loud.
and at least I have another pro. At least Liang looks like looks actually looks feminine for a change.
Yeah, I guess she was pretty buff, but yeah, she does have a feminine figure. So yeah, that's fair. I give that. That's definitely fair. I won't lie and twist that. There was a couple issues where she looked more muscular than Captain America, though.
Yeah,
So I was like, what the crap? So yeah, so I think I made my cons very well noted that Walkway doesn't know his history. He revises history as he goes. He uses this as a propaganda piece completely. So, and I found it offensive. It had so many wrongs. It was offensive. It was offensive to Captain America that on his iconic book, he can't be successful, and have a
yeah.
triumphant victory. It was a loss. So that's yeah, good. I had to kindly blow some steam on this one. So I gave it an F. You said you brought your grade down. You gave it originally a C, or was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I first read it, I thought I there were areas where I thought, okay, I think there were some areas where I thought his heart was in the right place, but his head wasn't.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure he has. Wade has overall intentions of everyone, being equal and being good. I truly do, but I think he's disturbed in how to get there and goes crazy. And what really makes me wonder is who is he considered the weak? I think that's quite offensive, actually.
You mean
But
besides women?
I don't know. Does he see himself that powerful? And that's why it titled my video like, Captain America. Mark Wade thinks he's Captain America in here. This was him as Captain America. I think he had the explosion that he wanted to see if it wasn't going his way and everything else.
Right. It's like,
Well,
oh, I lost the game. I'm gonna rage quit and hit the reset button and try again.
yeah. Now, people are asking us about a little bit about the next run. I can't say too much on it. I mean, all we had is a little bit of preview, as we said earlier. It doesn't give me a lot of hope, but I don't want to judge until I actually read it or see it for myself.
What about Axel Alonso?
What about him? I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah, he's done. Yeah, he's done, isn't he?
Yeah, he's gone.
That's like asking about Heather Antos at this point. She's ancient history.
I hope so. I hope she stays that way. Now, speaking of which, since we have a small group here listening right now, I want you to take a moment to pimp your channel and all that too before we wrap up. But I want to take a moment to pimp something online. If you are not a member of the Patreon, you might want to consider joining. Yes, I know that's pimpage for money. Granted, beware that I am aware, but just hear me out here. You don't get notified very often on YouTube for me because YouTube hates me. So that's one way to make sure you get notified. You can do it for as little as $1. And Little Frugal and I went to a comic shop and we gave a hint at what the Frugal Force giveaway coming up is going to be. And it's only part of it. Okay, so you're catching this now. You've seen that we bought some cable issues. For example, like cable number 153 by Brisson and John Malin, the artist that seems a lot of people are really digging and liking. Just so you know, what the game plan is, it isn't done yet, but it's going to happen. I've already talked to him. The next Frugal Force giveaway is going to be a signed cable issue by John Malin. So just so you have that heads up. So he's going to sign it, and that's going to be the giveaway. I'm probably going to have him sign more than one. So there'll be multiple giveaways over the next few months of signed John Malin work. So hope you guys like that. So trying to give back. And also, I'm not stopping doing the flashback from the stash. I'm just really late. Okay. So I've been a little busy lately with some family stuff, taking care of some family members that are in need. So it's been keeping me busy. Once again, I'd like to thank Samurai Raccoon here. This was his idea to do. Okay. So just so you guys know.
Yeah, yeah. I just had some. Yeah, I just had some. Yeah, I just had a couple of not really disagreements as much as errors that I put into question. And this was a. I figured this was a better opportunity to iron those misconceptions or questions out, as opposed to try doing it in tweets because, as we know, Twitter has limits.
Yeah. Was there anything else that you didn't have time to voice concerns or differences that you thought I was wrong? Feel free.
Yeah. Uh, other than those points you went over in your initial review, that was it.
Oh, okay. Once again, I'm always okay if people disagree with me because maybe I am. Sometimes I think, man, am I reading too much into this? Josh Main asked, favorite comic book anti-hero. You want to take that, Samurai Raccoon? Who's your favorite anti-hero?
Um. Well, I guess if you could call him an anti-hero, Wolverine.
Okay. He's had some bad past. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Mine would probably be Punisher. So, he actually started, as a opposition for Spider-Man. So, hey.
Yeah, here's another one I couldn't really get into in the '90s. I think it was the fact that I think it's more or less the fact that I think that it's most the fact that he doesn't really have an issue with killing people. I mean, Wolverine will kill, but it's usually a last resort thing for him.
Mm-hmm. And Josh Dortry says for me to check my Twitter. Oh, good! You did a 5-minute sketch listening to the rant. Thank you. I will definitely check that. I greatly appreciate that. Okay. Josh Main said Venom. I really got sick of Venom because he was so overused. I read all of those miniseries
Yeah,
too. A lot of those
yeah,
miniseries were garbage. They
yeah,
were just terrible.
yeah. Sorry to burst your bubble, Josh, but I liked him better when he was a Spider-Man villain
You
back in the
know, right. There's two ways I actually like him. Like you're saying, I liked him when he started early as a Spider-Man villain. When he was completely Eddie Brock, completely a nutbag.
right.
He was meant to do scary, like you were saying. And I actually liked the Agent Venom. I liked him as the Agent Venom with Flash Thompson as well. Did you check that out? Did you like or did you not read the Flash Thompson Agent Venom?
I don't think I read the Ancient Venom. Um, was Flash Thompson Ancient Venom post One More Day?
Yeah, yep.
That would explain why I didn't read them.
Yeah, it's different. He's the military aspect of that, as well as with some the sci-fi kind of mystical stuff too mixed in there. He fought Hobgoblin, or was it no Demo Goblin? I think it was, and actually made him really a good Demo Goblin, a good villain. So that was pretty good. All right, guys. Well, as I said, I was going to try to do it for an hour. So thank you everyone for watching. And Samurai Raccoon, since some people joined us since you were on earlier, do you want to let them know about your channel and stuff?
Certainly. Like I said earlier, I'm learning the whole stream process. But once I get a lot of that stuff squared away, I'm hoping to do more of these conversations with Comics Geek segments.
Well, feel free to invite me on. I'd be happy to be on there. And once again, feel free to disagree with me too. I'm not going to yell at you and swear at you.
Certainly.
So,
I hope not.
Josh,
I hope not. You got a little frugal listening in.
this is the way I am anyway.
Oh.
I don't talk any different really with him around. So, this is just me. Josh Main, I don't follow you on Twitter. Send me a tweet asking me to. I will. I apologize.
So, yeah, send me one too, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize that I'm not there following you. That's weird. Thought I was. All right. Well, you guys, thank you again for listening. I'm going to check my Twitter thing too. So, for the pictures that was sent and everything else, thank you for listening. And I love doing this kind of stuff with people. So definitely check out Samurai Raccoon's stuff too. Cool dude. And I appreciate him wanting to talk to these things about over with me and have a little bit of a disagreement on some things and be super civil about it. So greatly appreciate that. That was all on him. So thank him for this. All right, guys.
Also keep an eye on my Twitter channel. I'm I'll be updating everybody on the comic I'm working on called Blade of the Samurai Raccoon, which is what this channel is named after.
Cool. Excellent. All right, guys. Well, thank you everyone for watching. And until next time, keep it frugal.